Hello, my friend. You asked me if human beings have free will or not. And my answer to that is, my friend, it all depends whether you want to or not. I know many people who deeply believe that there is no such thing as free will, who still carefully look out to see whether there's traffic coming when they cross the road. And what that means is that they know there are hazards and threats in the world, and that they have the ability to navigate those threats and to keep themselves safe, or to leave it all to determinism, walk into the road no matter what, and let themselves be hit by a car. So clearly, whether you use your free will or not is entirely freely up to you. But perhaps circumstances will determine you to want to abandon the idea of free will. Or perhaps you have become encapsulated by theoretical arguments that convince you to ignore your common sense and your observations about everyday existence, and to end up in a cul-de-sac, a situation from which you cannot free yourself anymore. Because if you give up on your free will, you inevitably tie yourself in knots, and you end up having to act as if everything is already determined by external circumstances. I think the much better question is not, is there free will or not? The question is, in what ways can we achieve some amount of freedom in the way we choose things in the world? And in what ways, more importantly, can we expand our capacity for freedom? In what ways, my friend, can we actually dare to be free and make ourselves unafraid to reconsider things and to reflect from new learning? That is the kind of freedom that is well worth having. And it is an art to achieve that. We're certainly not born with it. It may well be that we are born without any kind of free will, because we're obviously very dependent as children on adults to look after us. And over the early years, the teenage years, and then our 20s, we do act very much according to the things we've been taught, the things we've soaked up, and the things that are expected of us. So very little free will during that time too. Free will, my friend, is something that is hard-earned and difficult to come by. We learn to recognize that margin of freedom as we mature and we have more and more experience. And we recognize how we can actually exercise that free will when we get strong enough and determined enough with self-determination, not external determination, when we're determined enough to actually claim our capacity for reflection, for consideration, and for informed choice making. That, my friend, is something that may take you decades and decades to arrive at. And if you are arguing against free will, I bet you anything that you are not an extremely mature person who has had many different experiences of making wrong choices, and who has come to regret that, and who has come to realize that freedom is not easy and that we are inclined to just run along with what is determined, but that it is possible to claim that freedom if we put our minds to it and we educate ourselves towards it, and that this may be one of the things that humans are evolving towards. In a lifetime, you evolve towards more and more capacity for freedom, for the exercise of your deliberate way of living. And over many generations, human beings have certainly improved at recognizing that this is a desirable possibility that is well worth educating yourself towards. Now, the real question is not, do you have free will? The real question is, are you going to accept your capacity for free will, and are you going to learn to have it? Are you up to it, my friend? And then immediately the next question is, how do you use your goodwill towards others, and how do you use your ill will towards others? And that's a deep question, because as soon as you start to ask yourself, when am I in a bad mood, or when do I feel vindictive towards others, or when do I actually feel hostile towards others, or want to do them down, you will inevitably be confronted with your power, your influence, your capacity for making a difference in the world, which is your little bit of free will. And this, when you educate it, can turn into the exercise of goodwill. And that takes maturity indeed. Learning to exercise free will is to align yourself with nature, with others, with the best in yourself, with what is possible, and even, as Spinoza would have it, with the infinite. And so, my friend, learning about training your goodwill, now that is an exercise that it is well worth devoting a large part of your life to. And as you do that, you will learn that it is far easier to slip into automatic ill will than it is to practice goodwill. And when you do practice goodwill and you see the effect that it has on the world around you and the world inside of you, you will never again ask this question, do I have free will or not? Take care, my friend. Be careful with your willing.